place around the different sides of the park as well. Here for David Graeber's memorial. As you see in the title. Ideally, everyone is picking this up right now. And normally, it would be taking a while around, but I'm going to go inside and get it. So, what's up? Good. Just got down here. Marissa messaged me, well, a couple of times, but yesterday just to confirm. I had to make sure that there was a link for the live stream of this, because it's being live streamed different places, so.
Is this like talking all day, or?
Lots going to be going on, but this is part of it.
How would it fit in with his thinking? And are we making the social revolution? Are we laying the groundwork for the political revolution? That was always what it was about. I'll never forget David at an enormous demo in Washington, being kettled by the police and ordering pizzas for everyone. And the whole time he was wearing this weird hat which looked like flames coming out of his head. I don't know if anybody here remembers that hat. He wore it all the time. On one of Reverend Billy's crusades, I saw him wearing that hat. It was like his hallmark. I don't know if that's still around somewhere, but I'd love to find out if we still got it someplace. Because David was a symbol. He was also, when he was in public, he was a symbol. He was a good symbol. He was of something that was down to earth, and something that was joyful, and something that always wanted us to be a community, to make the revolution within our community while we're doing whatever else we're doing. There were lots of mistakes we made back then. There were things we could have done better, but I think all of us are still part of that project of social revolution in the everyday, and I hope in my heart that we'll all keep doing this forever, that we'll never stop, and that we'll succeed. And all of those institutions over there, one of these days they're going to be dust. Believe me, they are going to be dust. And what's in our hearts... And what's in our hearts, and what's in all of the vibration through this community is going to be what's going to create the new world. I believe that, and that's the life David led. That's the life I try to lead, and I think all of us. So we're going to hear something about Rojava now. Rojava was one of the dearest things to David. It was an experiment that he believed in, and he loved, and he did everything he could to make it flourish. And so that's a good segue into what comes next. Thank you.
My name's Matthew Whitley, and I'm here to give a sort of brief statement about David's life and work with Rojava, the Emergency Committee for Rojava. As I'm sure you'll hear time and time again throughout the day, David was one of those people who could always be counted on to promote the movement rather than use the movement to promote himself. In 2014, during the siege of Kobani by ISIS in Rojava, northern Syria, David asked the world a provocative question. Is the world, and this time most scandalously of all, the international left, really going to be complicit in letting history repeat itself? At the time, it wasn't a commonplace in emancipatory movements of the world, but a real challenge to it. It was a risk that a lot of people were afraid to take, fearful that the Rojava Revolution would stain their reputation and somehow betray them through some inevitable moral and political failing. David wasn't against critique, but he also wasn't afraid to risk optimism. He was willing to place himself on the side of struggle and to embrace a new anarchist internationalism that was messy and radically pluralistic and in dialogue and deeply human. He was willing to show true solidarity, and in doing so he dared to have faith in the human imagination, to say that both they and we can win, and to really insist on this maybe tired slogan, but that another world remains possible. And I think that's what Rojava Revolution meant for him. Through his solidarity, he really showed us all a humility that I think we can all strive for. He didn't seek to co-opt or claim the Kurdish freedom movement for anarchism or anyone else. He sought to learn from it, to participate, to enter into its diverse work. He traveled there, and he really wanted to bring its thoughts and its challenges back home. David inspired countless individuals to actually go and support the Rojava Revolution in all sorts of ways, but also to engage seriously with its ideas, and ultimately to recognize that its struggle for democratic modernity, democratic autonomy was our struggle as well. It's this generosity of spirit that led to outpourings of grief from Rojava, messages of consolation when he lost his life. And it's this generosity of spirit that elevated our own movement here at home. We want to remember him by adopting his radical optimism, by saying those fighting anywhere to replace greed and exploitation with cooperation. You have not only our support, but also our ears. We're listening. Ensuring that the Rojava Revolution survives, not only survives, but blossoms, would be one of the greatest tributes. So thank you, and thanks to David for his work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all those reminders of David's creative spirit and instincts for good trouble, and his seriousness in looking at what the nature of our world is and how we could change it. We've all learned from David, have stories with David. He and I gallivanted around again. My name is Lisa. I didn't introduce myself in the beginning, but we came together in different places around the world, Japan and London and here, and had the honor of, with Eric as well, and others, as being seen as some of the most dangerous anarchists in the country when we were here in 2004 around the Republican National Convention. Nightline had this whole spread. It was completely ridiculous, but we'll take it. And so what we want to do now is, so much in the spirit of David, and the very first night of Zuccotti, or Liberty Square, to gather in circles with one another. So we're going to ask you to self-organize with 4 or 5 people around you, get a little distance. We're going to pass out pen and paper, and we want you to share with each other any story you might have about David, or any lesson you learned. What did you learn from David? You'll have a chance to share that with one another, write it down, and then we're going to come back into an assembly, and we're going to ask each of the circles to share 1 or 2 of the stories. So as you're in a group process, you might in fact try and decide what stories you're going to share. So we'd like to invite you to circle up, take a minute, we'll come around with paper and pen, share your stories, and in about 15 or 20 minutes we'll call back the assembly to do some sharing, and then we're going to take those lessons on paper and we're going to build it on the altar so we can gather all of the lessons. So find your people, circle up, share a story. That is. Yeah.
Hey, how Good, good.
Yeah, good.
I knew I was running late a bit, but yeah, I was definitely going to be down here.
Yeah.
But then also I said I was going to live stream this, so I wanted to make sure to get here
Yeah.
in time.
Right.
And
Well, you got here just about when they started.
well, that's what I figured. It was like, I know I'm probably going to be about 15 minutes from start, but
Once you're going to start exactly at 3 o'clock.
well, yeah, considering it's supposed to go until 6,
Yeah, right.
it's a long time. Let me mill about with this.
Do you know David?
I've met him a few times.
Yeah, I didn't know. I haven't met him. I have no stories to share. Yeah.
The thing is, I end up, there's a number of people I've met, and in terms of meeting him, talking with him at different times, it's like, oh yeah, David, right?
Yeah.
But I'm with that way about a lot of stuff. I never think about it. Each individual, and I think that's the way he would have preferred. Just there's someone out there trying to do, what he can. And it's, when you see stuff like this, to turn out, that's when you realize, everyone has an impact.
Yeah, no,
on a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I'll be here. So, as you can see, stepping back so you guys have a good view of everything. Also, as usual, I like to keep an eye on what's going on in the background. Currently, right now, what's happening, people have broken into groups. They're in the process of basically sharing their stories, each small group, their stories of their interactions with David, how they met David, about his life, from their personal perspectives. And then the groups will come back together in an assembly, and at that point, each group will pick one or two stories that they've shared with each other, and each group will share that with the assembly itself. As you can see, it started at 3:15. It goes until 6 o'clock. Doesn't mean people won't be gathering a little bit later, but 3:15 to 6 o'clock. And it's memorial. It's remembrance. It's remembering the joy. And as I was just speaking to someone, which may have been overheard, a lot of times people aren't aware of how much they impact individuals' lives. There's a cut and dry portion of it, which is sort of like analytical, writing papers, discussions, so on and so forth. But a lot of times those individuals impact people on a personal level that isn't always realized when they're alive. And a lot of times, sadly so, you only see that after people have passed. And just to add, remember, this isn't just here. This is happening with similar events, locations in the U.S. as well as outside the United States today. Hence the reason for today being selected. Also because it was a better way for the interaction in terms of the family as well. And someone actually asked me if his wife would be in London or in New York, and I actually didn't know, and at some point I probably had the information, but with so much happening, I don't always immediately retain. So, Reverend Billy walking by. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing crowd. And down at the other end of the park, 1, 2, 3, 4, the black car, 5, 6, 7, dark blue van. Again, the NYPD, they're here. This is a memorial, a remembrance of someone, but they always feel the need to make their presence felt. And a lot of you will remember that on Kitty's memorial when we had his memorial event here, that for whatever reason there was a bunch of NYPD that ended up on the side of the park, even though we actually went in the bar because of the weather just to relax, but they still had police out, and it's like, even in death they seem to want to hover around, sad. And I know right now I'm not able to see any of the chat, whether on Facebook, Twitter, or Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, on either that or on the link that was shared out, HO Media. But I will check those later. My advice to people is, if you are in the chats, to go ahead and share your own stories on there, interact, moderate those chats yourself. Yeah, the photographer is called, there has been some interactions at different points, but it's always amazing. So I saw you walking down. So they've broken into groups to share their stories, memories, good, and everything else about David. Then they will come back into an assembly and ideally share 1 or 2 stories from each group in that assembly. So that's the reason how they're broken up the way they are right now. I just gotten here because I had promised that I'd live stream this. And I was way out in Brooklyn by Newkirk, and I was like, I need to head down here. So I got here like 15 minutes after it started. Oh, okay.
Oh, and there's Billy.
Yes.
It's totally optional, but just
I recognize some occupied faces.
But, yeah. Another one. I didn't realize there was more.
So right now, and even though I know that there are a bunch of conversations, out of habit I don't intrude on group discussions necessarily, even though I'm pretty sure some expected, considering the events happening all over the world. But out of habit I just don't And anyway, you guys will hear the story shared once the assembly actually happens. So, and again, it's, yeah, after, out of habit, I always like to see what the police are doing anyway. So, and anything that happens in this park, you know, I'm usually going to be down here when it's happening. Home sweet home, guys. So, you have Brookfield security, 1, 2, most likely 2 others around, which is normal. NYPD, which really shouldn't be here at all. Gotta love it. And keep in mind, guys, normally I don't do event things. Normally it's always action. So if I seem a little out of place as I'm streaming, it's just I'm used to running from one place to the other normally. And this is probably like the calmest day I've had in a very long time. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you another perspective. You got groups here, around.
I don't know if they want
Quick recap on what's going to be happening for the day.
We're doing.
I'm never good on just events with streaming, so.
Want to recap the day?
Sure.
What? Yeah,
Okay. Should I do it with mask?
whichever you want.
Alright. Having trouble with this mask.
That's a nice choice.
But I think it's better.
Nice.
Alright. Hi. So, we're here at Zuccotti, which is the birthplace of Occupy Wall Street, and gathered in smaller assemblies and circles talking about the life and work of David Graeber. And we're here, because David played an instrumental role in Occupy, and not just at the level of the "We Are the 99% slogan, which is often quoted as and remembered as, but really in the process itself, in the practicing of direct democracy, of imagining these new worlds. And so that's why we're gathered as we are now. Basically, we started at the beginning with some speeches very brief speeches from people who knew David, worked with David. I said a few things. Eric Larson spoke, who knew David for 20 years as a writer and a friend and a comrade. Matt spoke, Matt Woodley from ECR, to highlight the Rojava work, international solidarity work that David had been doing for a number of years. And we're just wanting to hold space here together, have food, have community, and focus on on caring for one another. The last thing that David was working on was actually this international, interconnected assembly of care. He really felt like this was the moment in light of the pandemic and the crisis around healthcare to think about what a city of care could look like, and imagine that possibility. And we were working on that together. The day that he died, we were supposed to have a meeting about that. We were having an assembly about the assembly, and he was whisked away in Venice to the hospital, so we couldn't continue that project. So part of what we're building here with Mika and with all these other events around the world is that assembly of care. So thank you for also digitally and live stream and participating in this. And yeah, let's just take a moment to take care of each other in this really dark time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not good on just event streaming solely, so it's sort of like, okay, how do I feel the time? I don't want to encroach on every single group, so it's sort of like moving around and it's like figured a nice recap is a good thing for people out of it.
They'll tune in periodically.
Well, yeah, I've had to learn that people are not going to watch for like 2 hours, 3 hours straight on a stream. It's back and forth. And when I started realizing, I'm like, okay. And I always encourage them to share their own stories online. If they're watching the chat, just share their own stories with each other as it's going on. So it's good. Because a few people messaged me saying they weren't going to be able to make it. I'm like, it'll be streamed, and they'll be the ones to moderate the chat. So it'll be good. Let me take a walk around, and thank you.
Hopefully it was okay.
It was. It was good.
It's amazing because we basically like in country, it's like somebody she's just doing that to make it easier to play. But it's like, well, okay, she had polio. But she had to tune in. She had to tune in her head. Mark, come on.
They say like vote is,
We're having our rally on Tuesday for the women and queers of Turkey.
When is?
At 3 o'clock Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll be back. Yes.
All right, great.
Oh, at the consulate. Okay. Perfect. That's good. Good. Well, always. I would not miss today. There's no way. Let me just take a walk around. I'm never comfortable unless I'm filming the police at some point during the day, so I'm not big on the whole event just sitting there. There has to be action. Okay, guys. I just wanted to take a walk down. Like I said, you've got 1, 2, 3, probably for Brookfield. You've got. I just needed to spice up my little event. Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, black car. 6, 7, 8.
It's just a stupid online banking. That's why it's just like that.
So you basically have all of these guys in there. What I'm noticing is they're also on the side streets where normally they wouldn't be unless something's going on here. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out throughout the day. So keep an eye out throughout the day. Act as my second set of eyes, just in case.
Direct action and direct democracy are life-changing.
Anyone who would like, as they're speaking, can also put a posting on this board to remember David. Would anyone else like to come up and say a word on behalf
your story.
All right. So two things that really kind of came up. One is the power of snark and the importance of a memory of the early Occupy Wall Street planning and a snarky comment that really lit off the direction that it took. And the other thing, I think, is the question, what now? Like, if you really believe in something, what are you doing to make it happen in the world? Someone like David, there was a comfort of him being in the world, being this brilliant, luminary person who could just put things out there. If he's not physically there anymore, what are you doing? What am I doing to actually live in line with these values? That is terrible.
True.
My name is Daniel. I somehow ended up as the scribe for a group of current and former IWW members and semi-retired anti-fascist street fighters. So this is their recollections of David Graeber, fellow worker Graeber. Absent-mindedly walking through uprisings, avoiding arrest. First day, early, still early at Zuccotti. 80 people, just 80 people. David, totally optimistic. David bought a lot of people dinner. Finally, David Graeber, short-term, dues-paying, Industrial Workers of the World member, valued wobbly for life. Rest in power.
Who else would like to come up and share on behalf of their group?
Okay, so we had a medley of things. Folks said that from David they learned how to question the status quo, and that if you were there, even if it seemed like something you weren't that interested in or sounded crazy, you would feel his energy and just go do what you wanted to do. Love, love, love. Jet was actually an assigned reading in one of our group's undergrad classes. generation makers should remember this playful aspect of his legacy. And finally, as one of the only academics who write in thought as organizers, not with or alongside or accompanying them, but as one of us, he made some of us believe that it was possible to do that. And despite the odds of course, not getting tenure regardless of what your politics are, but I think in the end, it seems like he cared about collective solidarity more than his own individual interests. He cared about, graduate student workers more than about giving tenure. And in a year of so much death, I think it's as great a time as any to say, about tenure, why are we here? Let's write and think as organizers, and organize as writers and thinkers, and fight for our suffers together.
So we were a group of David students, former students, were at his university in London. So a couple of things we remembered was David always had new quirky theories that he would just go up to people outside on campus and be like, do you want to hear my new theory about... Oh yeah. Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah. So we remember a lot of David's new kind of weird but mind-blowing theories that he would share with his students around campus. David being always late at his lectures, which made us all feel a bit better about ourselves because the students were often really late. David sharing salt and pepper squid at the Vietnamese restaurant on campus after his lectures that he would just pay for dinner for all his students. David as an ally of students, often he would, he made us feel like there wasn't this separation between teachers and students that we would often feel, and he was very approachable. What else? Oh yeah, someone mentioned David dressed up as a knight as Occupy Wall Street, because we also had someone who met David here. And yeah, I guess something one of my friends always says about David is that he talks about things and he makes you think about things in a way that then you forget how you could think about them in a different way. It's like he turns your brain upside down and you can't even remember why you thought differently. You're like, wow, this is such a great way of seeing the world now, I can't unsee it. So yeah, special teacher and lecturer, close to the students.
Hello everyone, my name is Guy. I was asked to come here today on behalf of veterans of the YPG in America to give our condolences and our respect for David Graeber. I first met David on August 2nd for the planning meetings of Occupy Wall Street, and I was always very impressed with his ability to leave the...
Oh yeah, sure. Alright, start from the beginning? Yeah. Hi everybody, I'm Guy. I first met David Graeber on August 2nd before the occupation, and I was always very impressed with how he left behind the world of the, I guess you could say, intellectual and transferred it into the world of the physical. And later on, I saw David talking about going to Rojava and seeing the programs of the PYD and the revolution that is going on there, and me and several other comrades from America who have asked me to speak here today went there to join the YPG and the PYD, and Matt mostly said, the other comrade who talked about Rojava, mostly went over all the great things that David did, but we just wanted to say that we will continue to uphold his struggle as time goes on, as we do all our other fallen comrades, and as the other comrade said here, and the Kurds often say, martyrs are immortal, and free people never die. Thank you.
Any other stories to share? They can be put up throughout the carnival. We'd like to take a moment of silence to think about David, reflect on his legacy, before we burst into chant and song and festival and carnival. Let's just take that moment of silence now to remember David. David Graeber. Presenter. Magical teacher, friend, trickster, lover, teacher, activist, organizer, friend, troublemaker. David Graeber, rest in power. David Graeber, presente. Presente. We are the 99%. 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 We are the 99%.
Are 99%.
So let us remember, in David's spirit, may we as the 99% rise up and shut this fascist shit down. Now, David is with the ancestors, and he will be with us. We people don't die. David is with us, he will always be with us, and he will always show us a way forward. And on that note, thank you, David, and let's hear some song.
Stop Shopping Choir here. I'm Reverend Billy. Back 9 years ago, these were the risers in our church. We always sang right here. We got a song for you. Go. Amen. Is that free for a while? Finding our note. David is a saint in the Church Stop Shopping. We sainted him last year in London at Wilton's Music Hall. And we thanked him for his common sense. He would go into an oppressive social structure like a coyote man or something. He would go in there and he would see oppression and see the oppressed, and he would just notice it. He would just notice the oppression. And his writing, which you know, you've all read David's writing, it's a conversational writing, isn't it? He's talking to us. It's spoken word writing. And he facilitated his wisdom that way, and what his wisdom was, I would just call it brilliant common sense. But the first thing he had to do was he had to go into that oppression. He would go inside of it somehow and and look around. David had a way of being invisible, amen? He would go in there, see the oppression, and basically turn to the rest of us and say, this is not how we should treat each other, is it? Amen? Are we ready now? Hallelujah. There's my little sermon for you.
Capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, run for your life. Alone, our lives alone, listen to the moaning, groaning. Capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, run for your life.
Run for your life.
Capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, run for your life.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Shout out the gods. Capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, run for your life. Invisible or indivisible, humanity, invisible or indivisible, what will it be? A sack of meat, a military, buzzing the dogs, acid and rust. Capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, run for your life. Invisible or indivisible, humanity, invisible or indivisible, what will it be? Capitalist dogs are barking, capitalist dogs are barking, run for your life, run for your life.
One of David's famous paragraphs features the dogs. He said what the right wing does to us, the right wing turns society over to the dogs of the market. And after everything is just tumultuous, and everybody's eating each other and killing each other, making ungodly profits off of each other, then what the right wing does, the right wing steps in front of the bad kind of chaos. Chaos isn't necessarily a pejorative word, is it? But that violent kind of chaos, they step in front of it and they say, hey, everybody, we got problems here. You need security. You need law enforcement. You need the military. And as David always said, it's no accident that the people with the most guns, the nation states with the biggest militaries, create money out of nothing.
It's no accident.
Amen?
Amen.
Now we got a song from the General Assembly had a committee that created the Declaration. Remember the Declaration? Remember? Amen? Declaration of the Occupation. We've taken some of those words. We got a song for you. Ready? Somebody give me a hallelujah here today. Hallelujah. To the people of the world. To the people of the world. Listen to us now. To the people of the world.
We, the New York City General Assembly, occupy Wall Street in Liberty Square to assert your power.
Assert your power.
Exercise your right to peaceably assemble. Occupy public space. Create a process to address the problems we face. And
William Butler Yeats. And there was a quote about him that he became his admirers. Well, that's certainly true of David. He's in each and every one of us now. His amazing deconstruction into gentleness, decency. Of this system that normalizes cruelty. Right. Normalizes racism, sexism. Right. Victimizes us. And has tremendous marketing force persuading us that cruelty is somehow happiness, ambition, good looks, youth, all the things that we're supposed to get if we enter into consumer society. He was a saint in the church to stop shopping. He did buy nothing day with us. No boss. 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 We don't want no boss. No boss. We don't want no boss. No boss. We don't want no violence. No boss. We don't want no violence. No boss. Look at him up, Paco. 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 No boss. Look at him up, racismo. 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 No boss. No más extractivismo. No más. 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 No capitalismo. No más. No capitalismo. No más. 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 No más.
I mean, only a few times, but and if I'd say him, hi, but I didn't think of him as like all of this. It's just, it's good to see you. How you doing? How you been? But it, you know, you realize it's like people go through their lives and they touch a lot of people in a lot of ways. Good.
I just got here. Wasn't really anything before that.
They did a. Lisa spoke. Marissa, a couple of others spoke over there. Then they broke out into groups where they basically each group was telling the others the stories concerning David, and then they came back and actually presented that to the assembly. And on those little note cards over there are some of those that came out of the groups, right next to David's portrait over there. It's supposed to be going till 6, as far as I know. So it's going to be going until 6, as far as I know, and anything surrounding certain things done at Zuccotti, it's always, it goes as long as it goes. But officially it goes until 6, so you don't have to worry about coming on, about not getting down here in time. You have time to come on down. Again, moderate chats, tell your own stories in the chats with each other, because I'm not able to look at any of the chats going on right now. So, chat amongst yourselves. And I will look at the chats later. I always do, even if I don't respond to every comment. But so we're having a performance over by the gates of hell.
Hi everybody, this is a show that I'm putting on Bill Gates. I'm the one percenter I think that you all know and love. And I'm a really important person right now, so I just
So we have Bill Gates.
this song that I wanted to share with you. There are so many useless expert people. There's so much more smart. Are human? Too human. expert on the pandemic? Well, it's because I'm a eugenicist, and I work with the World Economic Forum. You guys remember protesting my friend Carl Schwab's World Economic Forum? Well, back in October in 2019, at the Pierre Hotel, we had a little event. Does anyone know what the name of the event was? It was called Event 201, and you can look it up. And what did we do there? We modeled a novel coronavirus pandemic. And we did that with our friends at Johns Hopkins.
People's life! Mic check! Mic check! Mic check! Mic check! Boo! 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 It is corny!
I'm sorry? Did you know about my event? Did you know about my work with the WHO?
It is disrespectful
what we do with
to
the
David
WHO.
Graeber's memory to fucking tie him into weird vaccine conspiracy bullshit.
Well, this is the reality of my vaccine.
Capitalism does not need to inject microchips into you to have control. This is like 9/11 truth or bullshit in 2020 and fuck it.
So, I'm sorry, you're right. There's probably nothing else going on here but a public health crisis. And, you know, Big Pharma and the WEF have nothing to do with what's going on. You're probably right about that. But in case you wanted to learn something about it, I ask you to go check it out for yourself. And you ought to check out one little thing in particular. A little event that happened in Kenya. I am the biggest funder of the World Health Organization and all of the other organizations that have influenced this pandemic. And what did I do at the WHO? I introduced a tetanus toxoid vaccine to women of childbearing years. And what happened when I did that? The tetanus toxoid vaccine, the Kenyan doctors found, was combined with human gonadotropin. And what did it do? It gave people spontaneous abortions. And it also made them infertile.
We spontaneously abort this performance.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. One of the tenets of being
more autonomy. He can go back over here.
is learning about what is happening to your world. But I'm sorry you feel that way, because don't worry, soon you'll have the injection, and you'll be even more closed-minded. So, with that, I'd like to inject the globe. Where's my globe?
People who are still open-minded, come here!
Autonomy.
It's okay.
The right of individuals to exercise their opinions, their beliefs is very important.
Inject the globe. Here we go. This is the final solution, as I once put it. Enjoy. It's coming. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm glad to see the anarchist spirit is alive and well.
Where? Oh, I think yes. Right up there.
Costume?
Yeah.
The visa's already coming back.
That's right.
There's some.
No,
feel the best people? Did you interview Orson? He asked us to not only our person is much better than I think if you want to conspiracy theorists, 9/11 truthers, fact like lamprey glommed onto social movements that were about overthrowing something of power. And he was, I read some of his stuff that he seemed like he saw that the model, anarchist was to go. What do you think about that?
Okay, guys.
Join us for one last song over here. One last song about the fascists. One last song about the fascists. Someone shouted that. Another song about the fascists.
Explain like what communication memory is.
So that's for David.
Trying to create this democracy as a part of the organization.
I'm gonna tell you fascists, these tribes of people in this world are getting on
This whole idea of making our organizing part of the solution instead of just wait to attack the problem. And I think all of us, I want to make everything I do without that. We have to think about how we're organizing food. We have to think about what kind of food we're doing.
Okay, I don't know all the words to this, but maybe you do, and you can also pull it up on your phone. We're going to sing Solidarity Forever. Unionsong.com. When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no longer yet one force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Is there aught we hold in common with the greedy parasite who would lash us into serfdom and would crush us with his might? Is there anything left for us but to organize or fight for the union makes us strong? Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. It is they who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade, caused the mines and built the workshops, endless miles of railroad laid. Now we stand outcast and starving mid the wonders we have made, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. All the world that's owned by idle throne is ours and ours alone. We have laid the wide foundation, built it skyward stone by stone. It is ours not to slave but to master and to own. For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. They have taken unto millions that they never to return, but without our greater muscle and a simple will to turn, we can break their haughty power, gain our freedom when we earn that the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. In our hands is placed a power greater than their hoarded gold, greater than the might of armies magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the
I'll be around for a while too. And, yeah,
I'm good. I'm not good on gatherings, like live streaming stuff like this. It's sort of, I think the only one I've ever done was sort of like a town hall meeting for, that's when Reclaim Pride was organized, but you had the meeting of the organizers plus the police liaison and all that stuff. I had just gotten back from DC and I said, let me go to the meeting. Hadn't planned a live stream. Ended up live streaming the 2 hours of the whole thing because I was just hearing such bullshit. One of those moments when I actually, because I never talk, one of those I just like, well, if you guys won't, insist on having the barricades, we'll just fucking march right through. And it was like, because that was the sense, if the idea is like what Pride was really about, saying you can't march a certain direction, and then I went to like the first 2 meetings, and as usual, I don't do meetings very well. If I think I can contribute, I'll be there, but if I think other people got it in better skill sets than I do, sure, I just sort of step back, make sure to show up, and do what I can, and then share, which is the outreach aspect of it.
It's so great. Thanks for streaming everything. So,
live streams in like other countries, right?
Yeah.
The different tutorials.
Well, that's why I knew it was important, especially when I said, you message me, he messaged me. If I say I'm doing, I better be down there. And I knew I was running late like 15 minutes because I was out by like Brooklyn, New York, coming in. And I was like, oh, perfect timing.
Great. So great, yeah. I almost didn't get here on time. I was like driving, trying to find a spot, and then I ended up going in the tunnel back to Brooklyn. I was like, fuck, do not drive.
I was like, this is a memorial, so it'll probably start somewhat like close to the time it said it's going to start.
Yeah.
But it's also Henry's, so it's not going to be exact.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
10 minutes late, so it's going to be fine. Hey, I took a lot of photos that edited some good bits and sent them to my site. So that's not about yeah, I mean, it was really cool. I didn't, it's like kind of uncomfortable. It's different, right? Memorial, you're filming Memorial, I'm not sure if it's
when they were sharing, but some people would probably be okay if there's especially if you're part of this thing, but I always have an issue with going into groups.
Totally. Yeah. And there was this photographer over here who was like,
I saw
Black was really upset, and I was like, okay, we gotta it's just like out there blocking. That's basically just been blocking.
Yeah, who was it?
No, we don't know. He did not identify himself. He seemed to be, I don't know, he had like a badge that served a ramp.
I have seen them before.
Yeah.
And I know there's been that type of interaction when they were doing City Hall. The recent one.
Yeah.
He might be one of their photographers, not such, but still.
Yeah, I agree.
He should have it on it. Just show it out front. It's like, and then either people will accept you or they won't. But, I saw that interaction. When I do photographs, it's sort of like, I respect. If you have a bunch of anarchists, let's say, or with other groups, and you have a big banner, I'm like, you want the banner, that's the reason you have the stuff there.
Exactly.
And I'll be like, you need to pull up your mask because I'm going to take a photo right now. Because my rule is that you have huge banners and stuff, and you're really doing like a media thing, you got to expect photograph, and if you don't want to, then make sure the mask is up. No tattoos or anything.
Now that anti-mask law
Oh, what?
always be masked up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it used to be that you have to actually think about being masked up on some level. I mean, I know people were arrested just because they were asking people on the street. that's gone now. So you gotta always wear a mask.
Well, I'm going to walk around. I need to walk around, but to leave you with two thoughts. One, everyone is Antifa now because everyone wears a mask in the world. Two, I realized this the other night when the Orthodox Hasidics were doing the protest. They were the first ones actually that were, they were the original black bloc because they're always anti-black. And they are anti-fascist. You know what I mean? It's to an extent, yeah. So it's sort of like, if you put a black mask on them, it's the coolest look if you actually started thinking about it. I mean, good protection that like in the 70s. Oh, they do have their own arms.
There's different sects. I don't want to say it was this. Yeah, I don't know what the sect was doing. This is like more range conservative sect. It sounds like.
But they do take community security as far as that. But yeah, it's like even with the mayor, the police department. That's the reason
why they're hands off.
And they will show up in numbers. They come out of places you never even realized they were at. It's, you know.
If you do go to one of those, you say, yeah, okay, that's good.
Well, I wanted to, and I've always seemed to be okay, even when I cover a regular news story, an accident or something. The guys will always, what's going on? You have those conversations. They like to talk anyway. And the older ones, yeah, interview me. You know, but I realize it is more intense in that, and if they're worried about being filmed or something, but I look at it as the same situation with Abolition Park. Look at it, that they're going to look at it the same way, so. Still wish I was down in Minnesota, Portland, and, you know, all the other places where shit's hitting the fan, and I'm just like, should have gone. Because a lot of people that we know are actually down there photographing, live streaming, and other stuff. I'm just, damn, it's too quiet here.
Yeah, but then they're also close to a war zone level. So
I know.
Your lungs are probably thinking you right now with all the tear gas thing.
I think so. Because I've been in a few of those situations over 4 years ago, basically, and then other times, so it's sort of like, yeah, I know my breathing impact, but for some reason I adjust quickly. If I get hit with all of it very quickly, there's a lot of smoke. As long as I move back one block to the next corner, get some air, I can go back in and, you know. And it's always me going back in to make sure people are okay, that I'm buddied up with.
Some of the cancers they threw summer days have very various effects of people who in these grenade labs have had a variety of they're documented. So the beds have some sort of weird chemical warfare stuff that's not known.
So there are probably going to be some major lawsuits coming up regarding that. And I'm pretty sure certain groups, are already on top of that. Let me walk around here. Okay. Good. You made it down. I had to make it down. One, I promised I was going to live stream it, but two, I would be down here anyway for this. You know. So hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm going to take this live stream down, one, because people are just milling about. If something happens, I will go back up as always, but thanks for tuning in. You can rewatch YouTube, the Restream channel on the other channels.